my name's Ryan Latanzio. I'm the film critic for the Daily Californian, and we have recently done preview coverage of the 55th annual San Francisco International Film Festival, and so we wanted to talk a little bit about the films we saw in the festival. So why don't we introduce ourselves?
I'm Thomas Coughlin, and I'm a staff writer for the Daily Californian.
I'm Ms. Vaughn Alalos.
I'm Sujan, a staff writer.
And I am Jessica Pena. I hope. All right, let's get started.
All right, so this festival, which starts tomorrow and goes until May 3rd, is, like I said, the 55th of its kind. And there's been a lot of interesting films that we all got a chance to see. I saw like four. And my favorite was Sang Soo's The Day He Arrives. And Sang Soo did Oki's movie and Ha Ha Ha, which played at last year's festival. And basically all of his movies are about depressed, sad sex cinephiles and their failed professional and romantic lives. So it really...
So it's autobiographical.
Yeah, really,
you,
right.
Resonated.
So it definitely resonated.
Definitely resonated.
And I really liked that movie. The other one I really liked was Alps, which is by Yorgos Lanthimos, who did Dogtooth, which you probably saw a couple years ago, which is a really twisted and hilarious movie. And this one isn't quite as shocking, but there are some moments of weird violence that are pretty interesting. It's about a service for hire that, for a fee, people in this secret society will impersonate a grieving person's deceased loved one. So it's pretty strange and unique. I think there's interesting things going on in Greek cinema lately. And then the other one I saw was Terrence Nance's An Oversimplification of Her Beauty, which is playing at PFA, I know, pretty soon, but I'm not sure what other venues. And this was kind of a hybrid documentary narrative feature that was, I think, autobiographical for Nance, and he deals with romantic failures and personal failures. So all these movies seem to be about people not having fun in life, but I think that's why I liked them.
I was gonna say that's the perfect genre for you. I saw the screener that I got was Bonsai. It's a Chilean film by director Christian Jimenez, and it's basically the story of these two young lovers who meet in college during a modern literature course. And they're asked to read Proust, or they're asked, who here's read Proust? And, they both raise their hands, but it's left up to the audience, one of them clearly hasn't. And the whole thing is this series of flashbacks between those days in college, the kind of carefree days of rose-tinted romance. And then 8 years later, we find out they split up, and it's the one guy who's writing this down in a novel. And it's very literature-based film in its structure as well. It's divided into chapters, and you're not really sure what's real or what's not. I would say that it doesn't really live up to its Proustian ambitions, just because like that novel, it rambles and you're unsure about what's going on, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I wasn't super impressed, but there's some interesting dynamics there. I just don't think it fully realizes them.
Well, I saw a couple of films. I saw Police by My Win, who doesn't have a last name.
Olivia Thomas.
Sorry. And I saw Krulak, The Path to Beyond by Anka Damian, who's a Romanian director.
I watched that too.
Yeah, it was...
Brian watched all of these movies.
What will I say? That was my favorite. It was an animated film. It sort of it had this kind of cool rotoscopic styled animation. I don't think it was actually rotoscope, but that was the aesthetic they were going for. Combined, and then the other scenes had a kind of Terry Gilliam style cut out. Not quite, but more stop
No large
motion,
feet stomping.
No large feet or talking animals. But it too had kind of literary ideas. It was sort of heavily based and sort of steeped in the literature of Kafka, a lot of the incarceration and big kind of scary bureaucratic processes that just seem to suck the guy in and the character Krulak in and not let him out. But I thought it was really enjoyable, but mainly the aesthetic was lovely and some interesting ideas. And I think from an historical perspective, I thought it was really interesting. We don't really hear a lot about Eastern Europe and its sort of cultural dynamics between the former Soviet satellite states. We often hear about it from a Western sort of context. Poles moving to Western Europe, but this is a Romanians moving to Poland. So.
And least of all animated. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. No Disney movie.
Soviet Union, Disney stuff. No.
So the screener I got was Guilty. It was a French film based on, it was a fictional account of the real life French scandal that followed a man, Alain Marcoux, who was kind of wrangled into this sex ring along with 12 other people who were unjustly convicted and accused of raping, molesting children.
Hello.
Yeah, it's heavy, and so it follows his arrest and conviction and being stuck into prison and then transferred into insane asylums and then his hunger strike, and it's really gripping. But I don't think that the magistrate who orchestrated all this corruption was fully developed. I thought they could have better juxtaposed him with the main character, Alain. And so I just wish that was more defined so that you could really hate one person in it. I felt that there was like this tinge of anger, but not enough to really get me pissed off that I wanted to root for that. So it was interesting.
Very depressing trends in
I know.
Mine's really depressing too, actually. I watched Oslo, August 31st by Joachim Trier. I'm probably butchering his name. But it's about this drug addict named Anders, mostly heroin, who's recovering, and they release him out of rehab for an interview, but no drug addict goes directly to an interview. So he visits his friends and basically just follows him throughout a course of a day. After he wakes up next to a woman he doesn't remember having sex with, and then ends. I don't want to deal with the ending, but there's no complex plot line. I think the beauty of the movie is how it's shot. It's really there's like cinematographically great. I feel disgusting to say this, but it kind of feels like there's an Instagram filter on the whole thing. So the movie's really saturated, kind of like how Blue Velvet has like a very blue pink tone to it. This is very like green and like a lot of shadowing. It's really beautifully done. There's some scenes that just look like a painting, but yeah, it captures Norway's not young adult, but like 20-something, 30-something culture really well. It makes me want to visit Norway, and it makes me really wish there was a film that could capture American youth culture in that kind of way. Except I think America's so huge, it'll be hard to do that. But yeah, it's really beautifully done.
Cool. It sounds like we all saw some dark, depressing movies.
Mine might have been the most lighthearted.
None of which between us we're American, so that's interesting.
Yeah, no, it is the International Film
That's
Fest. I
true.
think more so this year than probably last year.
Yeah.
We had, because last year's premiere film was Beginners, and that film, it's a fairly thoroughly American film, which Christopher Plummer won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for, and this year it's a French film, Farewell My Queen, and I think it's a much more distinctly international palette, and some high quality international films, I would say, from varying regions, Norway and whatnot.
Varying regions of Europe, generally, though. So very sort of
Chile.
Europe.
I had Chile.
Oh yeah. But
And
we-
mine had a really great musical score. A lot of it was American. So it was nice to like recognize some music.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've enjoyed covering the festival with you guys, and that concludes our talk, I guess.
Thanks for watching!
Great job,